Hi, my name is Mimi Bong, and I'm from Korea University. And my talk to you today is multiple journal rejections in a row. Welcome to the club. Okay, so I'd like to introduce this article that I'm really proud of. I published on the similarities and differences between academic self-concept and self-efficacy in 1999 with my advisor, Dr. Richard E. Clark at the University of Southern California. And then I published a second article on the same idea with my colleague Einar Skalvik in Norway in 2003. Now, when I first started working on this idea, I was so frustrated as a PhD student. I was working on my dissertation on self-efficacy, but it was never clear to me how the two constructs are similar or different. So I read and read and read. I must have read over hundreds of articles. And then I came up with these dimensions that I believe the two constructs appear to be similar or different. So, for example, the literature review told me that academic self concept refers to the knowledge and perceptions about oneself in achievement situations, whereas academic self efficacy refers to your subjective convictions for successfully performing the given academic task at designated levels. So, even though the two constructs share the perceived competence as their central element, they differ in terms of the definition as well as composition. So when we talk about academic self-concept, it often talks about not only your perceived competence, but your emotional reactions to that recognized competence, which was not necessarily the case for self-efficacy. And also, there is a difference in the nature of evaluation such that academic self-concept more heavily depends on the social comparative judgments as well as ipsative judgments such as the internal and external frames of reference model, whereas academic self-efficacy depends on the judgment that you're making regarding the goal, what you want to achieve. So it's more goal referenced. And also there's a difference in the judgment specificity. And as you all know by now, self-efficacy tends to be more context specific as well as task specific. There are other differences as well in terms of the time orientation and temporal stability and all that. So I submitted this manuscript to a journal and it got rejected. Not only it got rejected, I received these comments from the reviewers, and these are direct excerpts from the reviews that I got at that time. So the reviewer thought the idea was silly, the arguments were totally unwarranted, and my writing is confusing and my logic misleading. So it got rejected from the first journal that I submitted to, and then it eventually got published in Education Psychologist, but it had to go through three revisions. So you see on the table one reject plus number three. That means it got rejected from one journal before it was published, and then it went through three revisions in that journal. Now, but the story does not end here. So if you look at the bottom table, so the top table presents the first 10 articles that I've published since I got my PhD. The bottom table shows the 10 articles that I published and submitted, rather, 20 years after I got my PhD. And you would think that your life as an academician will become easier in terms of publishing, with time. And it shows it's not necessarily the case, at least not for me. So, for some reason, I get more rejections. Like you see there, I got more rejection 20 years after getting my PhD than immediately after getting my PhD. Now, so in one article, for example, it got rejected from four different journals in a row before it was accepted and published in psychology in the schools. There are other examples in that table as well, like another manuscript got rejected from three different journals in a row before it got published. So my advice to you is that even if you or reviewers call your idea silly, don't believe them. And there's always a place where you can publish your manuscript. And also, even if it's painful, I typically set aside the rejection letters for like 2 weeks because it's still painful to have the manuscript rejected. But when I pick it up afterwards, after 2 or 3 weeks, there's always something that you can learn from. So use their comments to improve your manuscript and submit it to a different journal. And the key is to have a growth mindset that you can do this and you'll improve through this experience, and then you will eventually be able to publish it somewhere. So please persist. Thank you.